In this module, The Relationship, we examine uncertainty reduction theory. Uncertainty reduction theory was originated by Charles Berger and Richard Calabrese in 1975. Berger and Calabrese posited that as implicit researchers, people are more motivated both to predict and explain what will happen in initial social encounters. Prediction can be defined as the ability to forecast the behavioral options likely to be chosen from a range of possible options available to oneself or to a relational partner. Explanation refers to this attempt to interpret the meaning of past actions in a relationship. So, an example of prediction in a relationship is you know that every time you meet with your boss, you shake your boss's hand. So, you understand the collegial nature in that social nonverbal exchange. An explanation could be the understanding and meaning of why you all only shake hands or shake hands every single time that you engage in communication with one another. Uncertainty reduction theory means that people experience uncertainty in interpersonal settings, and it sometimes generates cognitive stress. When strangers meet, their primary concern is to reduce their uncertainty and increase predictability. Interpersonal communication is this developmental process that occurs through various stages, and it is the primary means of how are you going to reduce your uncertainty. So think about situations at work where you initially begin working at an organization and you're trying to understand how do you negotiate those interpersonal interactions. You're reducing your uncertainty. The quantity and nature of information that people share change through time, which helps you to reduce your uncertainty. The next theory we'll look at is social exchange theory. Social exchange theory is based on the notion that people think about their relationships in economic terms. People tally up the cost of being in a relationship and compare them to the rewards that are offered by being in a relationship with that particular person. Costs are those elements of relational life that have a negative value to a person, such as how much is time am I going to cost in this relationship? What is the effort that will be cost in this relationship? One has to put into maintaining a relationship, or the negative one has to put up with the partner. So what am I winning? What am I gaining by being in this relationship with you? Which leads us to rewards. Those are the elements of a relationship that have a positive value. All relationships require some time and effort on the parts of their participants. But when we think about social exchange theory, we are measuring how much of a cost and how much of a reward are we willing to negotiate. The next theory that we'll look at is social penetration theory. Social penetration theory means that we're understanding the relational closeness between two people. Arwen Altman and Dalmas Taylor in 1973 conceptualized social penetration theory. They're looking at the process of a relationship and the bond that individuals have moving from superficial communication, how are you doing, how's the weather, nice pair of shoes, to more intimate conversations. What did you think about the way that you felt in this particular situation? According to Altman and Taylor, intimacy involves more than physical intimacy. There are other intimacies, including intellectual intimacy as well as emotional intimacy, and the extent to which a couple shares in these activities. The social penetration process necessarily includes verbal behaviors, nonverbal behaviors, and environmentally oriented behaviors. Altman and Taylor believe that people's relationships vary tremendously in their social penetration. Relationships follow some very particular trajectory or pathways to closeness. Take a moment and think about relationships that you've been in the past and how many of them follow that same trajectory. Relationships are somewhat organized and they're very predictable in their development. And so many times we see similar patterns developing based on social penetration theory. The last theory that we're going to look at for this module is the relational dialectics theory. This is also one of a favorite theory of mine. It maintains that relational life is characterized by ongoing tensions between contradictory impulses. It's this push-pull that we experience. Do these theories sound familiar to some of you all? If you take an introduction to communication studies, or if you're on the interpersonal track looking at health and relational communication, these are theories that are centered in that area. So at this moment, we're really focusing on relationships. When we think about relational dialectics theory, people are not always able to resolve those contradictory elements of their beliefs, and they can hold inconsistent beliefs about relationships. Relational dialectics theory is grounded in 4 assumptions that look at the fact that relationships are not linear. Relational life is characterized by change. Think about a relationship that you had before COVID-19 versus a relationship that you experienced after and during the COVID-19 pandemic. Contradiction is the fundamental fact of relational life. And then lastly, communication is central to organizing and negotiating relational contradictions. The most significant assumptions that grounds relational dialectical theory is the notion that relationships do not progress in a linear fashion. Rather, there are these contradictory desires that individuals have in relationships. Remember, it's that push-pull tendency. As you're studying this module, consider how are your relationships impacted by your understanding of these particular theories and how you work in this space. Enjoy your reading, enjoy your videos, enjoy your writing.